Hi everyone, this is Lara Hammock from the Marble Jar channel, and in today's video I will show you how I use Trello to keep track of all of the books I am reading, have read, or want to read. So when it comes to books, my eyes are always bigger than my stomach, and by that I mean the number of books that I want to read far exceeds what I can actually ingest. And my lists just keep growing based on recommendations from others, books that have recently come out, and whatever I happen to be interested in at the time. The problem is that my mind is constantly going, and unlike some who have nice orderly minds, mine is like a hurricane inside a tornado. So this is what even a small dose of ADHD will do for you. But what that means is that at any given time, I'm in the middle of 4 to 8 books with a long list of other books that I want to get to. The thing is, my brain only has so much memory, so I created a system using Trello to help me out. If you are unfamiliar with Trello, it is a task organization system based on the Japanese kanban method of moving cards through a series of steps. So I have a couple of introductory videos on Trello if you are interested in those. I tried out Trello for task management, but it didn't meet all of my needs. I love the interface though, and I have continued to use it to organize projects and other kinds of information. This all falls into that latter group. So I've changed the way that I organize these boards a couple of times, but I'm going to share with you the system that has worked best for me. The nice thing about Trello is that it is incredibly versatile, so you can set it up however you want. For me, I found it best to organize by the type of reading that I do. So for personal reading, I read in 3 different ways. I read for 30 minutes to an hour every night before I go to sleep. I listen to audiobooks in the car or as I'm doing mindless chores, and I read physical books at other times during the day, most of which I also take notes on. For each of these types of reading, I created a separate Trello board. So I have read before bed since I was a kid. In the last 5 years, I can count on one hand the number of times that I've gone to sleep without first reading a portion of a book. I find it restful, and I like to fill my mind with stories that aren't my own right before I fall asleep. Generally, I don't read nonfiction during this reading slot. I read books from my book club, recommended fiction, and mysteries. Lots and lots of mysteries. And here's the thing, I read with a Kindle. My husband goes to sleep before me because of his schedule and temperament, and I feel bad putting on a big light or even a book light when he's trying to sleep. So I have a Trello board for this type of reading, and here it is. So this is against Trello orthodoxy, but I tend to have my completed list as the first column on the left. After that, I have a queue of whatever I happen to be reading and anything that I need to read next, either because it's on the list for my book club or it's due back at the library. Each card within this list represents a book. I also use labels to show which book that I'm reading now, green, what's next, I think that's orange, and what's on hold at the library and what I already own on Kindle. When I've completed the book, I drag and drop it over to the finished column and I get a little fanfare animation from Trello. Yay! I also have columns for recommended books. Sometimes these cards are books and sometimes they are authors, like this Philip Roth card. Then a column for all of the mystery series that I am working through. Each card represents a series, and I've created checklists for all of the books in that series. When I'm ready to read one, I just copy the title and make that into a card. But this way, I don't have to remember which books I've already read in a given series. I also have a column for other lists, like books about London, book club books, and recommendation lists. Next, I have a list that contains all of my favorite series. I've read all of these books, but so long ago that I could read them again and enjoy them. And finally, I have a column for notes. As I said at the outset, I have a limited memory capacity, and I can't tell you how many times I have picked up a Dorothy Sayers novel only to think, God, I hate this book. I kind of remember actually hating Dorothy Sayers books. Now I have a place to tell myself that. The next kind of reading I do is books audio. So I listen to a lot of books on tape. It's my favorite way to ingest nonfiction. I have a subscription to Audible, plus I can check out digital audiobooks from my library through the Libby app. I have a couple of videos on the Libby app if you're interested. It's a great way to make a use of a long commute, a ton of carpooling, or a good way to get 2 things done while doing mindless chores like weeding my garden or doing dishes. I find that fiction by audiobook is too slow, but I like to listen to memoirs this way, particularly in the voice of the writer. So I have a Trello book for books audio. Again, I have my finished list as the first column on the left. The next column is my current and in queue list. I have a colorful cover on one of the cards that identifies this list. Above the image is what I'm reading now, 2 books you can see, and below is what's in queue. I use labels to show what I'm currently reading, green, and what I've already purchased on Audible, orange. Like the last board, I have a list for nonfiction books and memoirs that have been recommended or that look interesting and are available to borrow from the library. I have a list of authors that I love, each one with a checklist for which of their books I've already read and a list for notes. I will say that if I'm particularly taken by a nonfiction book that I listen to, I do get a hard copy out of the library or I purchase it so that I can take notes on it, which brings us to our third type of reading that I do, books, physical/take notes. Since I don't read physical books before bed, I read these at other times during the day. There are fewer of these books on my list. They are books that I've been given, books I got from the library after listening to them so that I could take notes, or books that I got on my Kindle that I'm reading for content rather than for pleasure. I do think you should read nonfiction differently than you do fiction. I have a video on that process if you were interested. So that's my system. This has not only helped me organize what I'm currently reading, but it's helped me to plan better what I want to read in the future. In addition, it's been a great way to keep track of the books that I've read. I also try to make a couple of notes on each book after I've read it to help me remember the book better. Let me know what you think. Comments are always appreciated, and thanks for watching.